people mistakenly think that my goals have to be your goals in a relationship. And it's one of the biggest fears is, okay, my significant other's not a goal setter. How do I get them on board? We've touched that. But the next fear is, what do we do if our goals aren't the same? And the answer is they actually don't have to be. And a perfect example of this is my partner, Jay Papasan. So he and his wife, Wendy, they just did their 14th annual couples goal setting retreat.
I think I saw pictures from that. Yeah.
They were their inspiration for this event. This is their 14th year in a row of doing this. And a while back, part of the process is we don't just ask what are our goals for this year. We actually imagine what we want our lives to look like someday from now, which, by the way, that's not something most people know the answer to. You have to give yourself the space to really journal and think, what would an extraordinary life look like someday from now in various areas of our lives? And you get clarity on that as an individual. Then you turn to your partner and share your thoughts. And again, it's not about it being the same. It's about having clarity on what matters so you can support one another. And I remember Jay shared with Wendy, one day I would really love to own a ranch, because in Texas, there's not a lot of public land that you can go hunting on. And Jay grew up hunting with his father. It was some of his most cherished memories of his childhood. And he really wanted to do that with his kids. And Wendy was like, okay. And the next year when they sat down and they revisited their goals, Jay said, I really want to own a ranch someday. And she goes, oh, interesting. It wasn't a set it and forget it thing. He's thinking about it again. The third year they sat down, I really want to own a ranch someday from now. And she's like, okay, this is the third year in a row this has shown up. This is clearly very important to him. During that third year, the opportunity came for them to buy a ranch with a partner. And because 3 years in a row, Jay had communicated the importance of this to Wendy, when the opportunity showed up, Wendy had zero interest in a ranch. She could give two shits about it. But because she knew it was that important to Jay, she instantly said yes.
Wow.
And now something that was a huge someday goal for Jay became part of their reality and part of their family rituals, versus what happens in most relationships. Somebody has a goal. Jay thinks, I want a ranch. And they keep it to themselves. Then the opportunity shows up and goes to the wife and says, hey, let's buy a ranch. And it looks like it's out of nowhere, when in fact, it's actually been purposeful for a long time.
Yeah. Do you have a personal story of where the goal setting between you and Amy has made a difference? I'm almost like feeding what I think is going to be the answer to this.
Yeah, I think you know. Last year when Amy and I did our retreat, we asked the question, what matters to us someday from now? And the answer was, we want to be closer to mountains. Like Jay with his dad hunting, I grew up going skiing and snowboarding with my parents. It's my most prized memories of my childhood. My daughter's 7. My son is almost 5. I even get emotional just thinking about this. I'm really clear that I've got about 10 years left where the family is under the roof, where we can be intentional in our moments together. And 5 years into living in Austin, we have not made that a part of our lives, going on vacations to mountains. I know if I continue down this path, I will truly have regrets in my life with my children. That's very painful for me. So when we did our retreat last year, we said, we want to live by mountains someday. And we said, okay, well, based on that, what's one thing we can do this year? Let's not just cross our fingers. Let's put a plan. What are we going to do this year? And I remember thinking, well, as long as I run the company behind the one thing, I have to be in Austin, because that's where Gary Keller and Jay Papasan are. Well, what's one thing we can do? And the answer was, we can take a vacation to a mountain location just to start scouting out locations. So when the day comes that we earn the right to move, we know where we want to go. Something interesting happened, Jon. After COVID hit, like, we locked all vacations down. We were doing nothing. And all of a sudden we were like, okay, we do need to take a trip. Let's go see family in California. And we booked flights. We lined the family up. We were going to wine country. All the wineries were booked. The family was excited to see the kids. And I remember looking at Amy, it hit me because I was reviewing my goals, because I have a relationship with them. And it said, take one mountain vacation. I looked at her and I said, this is probably our last vacation this year. And it's not to the mountains. Which matters more, California or mountains? And she said, mountains, but we've already committed to the family. And I said, I get that, but which matters more? If we could only say yes to one, which would it be? She said, mountains. I said, okay, I'll take care of the rest. I handled dealing with the family, backing out, because we were going to say yes to our priority. We booked Denver. A few weeks after we booked Denver, I had a realization during one of my thinking time blocks. I believe the future of work is virtually based, physically enhanced. And as a company that trains companies to be productive, we need to be that company so we can lead that transition. I made that pitch to Jay and Gary, and they said, we agree. And I went, oh, well, if that's the case and we're going to be virtual, do I need to be in Austin anymore? And they said, no. And we were leaving for Denver in like a week. Suddenly my Denver scouting trip became a house hunting trip, and we literally bought a house on that trip. So my someday vision, because we had set that someday vision, and because we had set a goal to take one trip, and because we had the relationship with the goals, we were able to say no to California. We were able to say yes to visiting Denver, so that when the clarity came up that we're going virtual, all of a sudden it became a house hunting trip, and we move in 2 weeks.